Final thing on the docket, Teach. Not been a whole. We were hoping for some Pac-12 news to come out last week around the TV deal. Still nothing but rumors. Still floating. I mean, we've seen between 19, 23 million per team, whatever it may be. We are up the end of this week. San Diego State is either in a conference and accepted an invitation, or they are no longer in the Mountain West and they're having to pay $34 million to exit.
Yeah.
So unless something happens by Friday, how do you feel if you're San Diego State?
I think you could go about this a couple of ways. You can have a tight booty hole because you're kind of up against it on the clock frame, but also you're going somewhere. Like you don't formulate that email to say like, hey, can we get an extension? Unless you have a general idea that you're going to get extended. And I've touched on it before. I think that's who the Big 12 should go after, especially if they're talking about making a coast-to-coast conference. Like you already have Orlando, Cincinnati, and Huntington, West Virginia. They're all in the East Coast time zone. Obviously, like 98%, 99% of the Big 12 is in the Central. And then you're trying to go after Arizona, Colorado, and BYU. Those are all like Mountain Standard, or what is it, Mountain Standard?
Mountain and Pacific, I guess. At the time.
Yeah, it's Mountain something. It's Mountain Standard or Mountain Daily. I don't know, whatever. They have
We're in daylight savings time.
Yeah, they have like 3 different time zones over there. I feel like.
Well, Arizona they don't even do daylight savings.
They don't do daylight savings, but they're in Mountain Daylight Time.
Yeah.
Whatever. What are we talking about? Time zones here. I think that plays a part in it because I think that if you are waking up, it's 11 here. You've got football on the East Coast. You've got
how weird would
11 o'clock, 12 o'clock games.
For Pac-12 after dark to die.
It's not going to die. It's just going to be boring as hell.
It's going to become Big 12 after dark.
Slightly. I think that's their idea.
Or Big 16 after dark.
Right? I think that's the general idea. So if San Diego State opts out, I think that's good for Memphis in some manner because I think that that's going to basically elicit movement. Right, I think that Colorado is just waiting. Like I think,
like we said last week, any movement is good.
Sure,
right. Like you got to have movement for anything to happen for Memphis.
Yeah,
so as long as things are sitting stagnant, nothing's happening, and no good comes from that.
I think we need to know the Pac-12 numbers before anything happens. The moment those numbers go live.
I mean, what's taking so long? You know the teams they got?
Because they want to go. They're doing this futuristic ass deal. They keep talking about how it's like the foresight on it is great. And I think that's exactly what it is. I think they're going to go streaming because ESPN is talking about becoming a streaming.
Is there anything worse in the world than streaming sports?
No, because I'm 30 seconds behind everything, and Twitter's already ruined it for me.
For live betting, our group chats, I can't stand streaming sports.
I think that
we used to have YouTube TV, then we tried Hulu Live. I got rid of it. I went back to cable. 1, because it was just as expensive, and 2, I was finding out stuff happening 30 seconds before it happened.
Yeah, I hate that, man.
You can't live bet when things like that are going on.
It's the worst. I think that ideally we just need the Pac-12 numbers to come out. I think Colorado will see the number and like, let's go to the Big 12. I mean, it's a business decision, right? It's pretty straightforward.
I will say, we've talked about it a little bit, but the pro rata calls. So Baylor AD Mac Rhodes was on with the 365 sports guys.
Sick'em guys.
Yeah. They had him on last week interviewing. They asked him specifically about that clause, specifically about adding G5. Now, I don't know how well, I mean, you would assume as the AD of a Big 12 school, he would have a full understanding. According to what he said, the pro rata clause, obviously, if it's another Power 5 added, they just add the pool grows, right? No discussion about it. My understanding from his interview was that even if a G5 is added, the ability to renegotiate is there.
Sure.
Right? It doesn't necessarily mean that you add Memphis or San Diego State, whoever it is that they're added, the pool stays the same size and they either have to take less or every team gets a smaller portion.
Sure.
It's just that with a Power 5 team being added, no renegotiating needs to happen, which gives me more optimism around it because if you're right, you add Memphis and UConn from a basketball
Yeah.
perspective and Colorado and Arizona, then you can go back to the TV organization and say, hey, here's the numbers from these areas. Like, let's talk about, what they're bringing and the value of those two teams, as opposed to just, hey, we're adding Memphis, UConn. The size of the pie is the same size, and everybody gets either less, or those two teams are going to take less until the new deal's over.
Yeah, I do. I am curious what the less part would be, right? Like if you get the Colorado, right? I don't really know who else the Big 12 is going after. I've always said that San Diego State was going to be the team. I think that's just because they're the most sought after G5 out there. I think we could argue that. I could argue that.
They're your most highly sought after G5?
What are you looking for in a school?
I don't know. Is that in your Nielsen rankings? Or
yes.
what?
I mean, San Diego is one of the top markets.
They're
not a pro team anymore. I mean, the Padres are doing great, but like the Chargers aren't there. You have a big market. They've already invested.
Where do they rank? Where do they rank compared to Charlotte
in the market?
Yeah,
probably top 10 market, I think. Okay, San Diego's huge, man.
Know. Yeah, I don't.
I mean, it's like
that feels like a big bachelor town, though. I don't know how much Pac-12.
No, man, it's like it branches right off L.A. It's not too far from L.A. You've got Tijuana, Mexico, right down below it. So if anyone in Mexico cares about football,
what? You're counting Mexico in these numbers?
I'm just saying it's right below it. Like if anyone in Mexico cares about football, the closest school they're going to have is San Diego State. I was just throwing that part out there, but they have a new stadium. They just built Snapdragon not that long ago. Like they are in. Look at their academics. Their academics are great. Like there's no reason to not consider.
Are they a R1 institution?
They are an R1. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, they check every box. That's the thing.
Is UConn R1?
Yes. Yeah, I believe so. So that's the thing. It's like I don't really know. We talk about what's important for this realignment. Is it academics? Is it investment in nothing worse than someone saying you have to have an on-campus stadium. That's the stupidest argument in the world. Like Miami, the Hurricanes, they play like 30 minutes away from their campus. Like,
well, they also don't really have anybody that goes to games.
I know, but it's just like you can't tell me that that's the only thing that matters. We can sell beer.
I'll say this.
Who else sells beer at their stadium? That matters. At least to us, right?
It does to us. I don't know where. I can't remember where I saw this. I think it was on Twitter. Somebody this week was talking about if everything just was blown up and started over now. Like some of these Power 5 schools have just been grandfathered in because they've been a Power 5 forever.
Sure.
Like Memphis, if everything was blown up and it was totally started over, Memphis gets in over a lot of, like, Oregon State. Why not?
What do you mean by that?
Like, they get in over these other schools. Like, they're not bringing anything to the table.
I don't know that to be true. I mean, what do you mean? Like, obviously, we're not going to be playing in the pack at that point, though. That doesn't even make any sense.
I'm just saying.
Like, these things are all geographical.
That was just one team off the top of my head.
Okay, name someone.
Bandy in the SEC.
It's all literally the only thing they add is baseball and grades.
They're not even good at baseball anymore.
They're still pretty good at baseball.
No, they're not. They didn't even make the College World Series or host a regional, and like half of the SEC hosted a regional.
Whatever. They're great. Vandy's one I could take you. I'll give you that.
Rutgers
is huge.
You're just going to say New Jersey. I don't care.
It's a huge market. What do you want? That they took when they joined, they took less money because they knew the only thing they were adding was a big market. Fight me right now. Fight me. Come back. Give me something. That's the only reason they're in there, and they know that. It's the same thing with Maryland.
Yeah,
they know. They know shit. We suck, but we got DMV right there. Take us because we come with DMV. You want this sick ass area? Great.
How many people are watching Rutgers sports?
It's the closest school to New York City. Find a bigger college.
I don't care about the size of the college. I'm just saying how many people are watching.
Everyone in New York. That's the argument.
But they're not.
But they are.
But they're not.
But they are.
They're not.
They are.
We're watching. I just looked at Nielsen last week. Everybody's watching America's Got Talent, not Rutgers baseball.
Well, they don't play baseball up there, dude. They don't play baseball.
Whatever. You know what I mean. There are several Power 5 schools that are just still in there that aren't carrying their weight.
But the ones that do, like the Marylands, like the Rutgers, they know that they suck. The only thing they offer is their market. That is literally all they have. Maryland has Under Armour, right? They have DMV.
Under Armour's.
Rutgers has New York City.
The Under Armour phase is over.
It's just that's all it is. They just bring a market. That's all they got. Memphis, we can't rely on our market. We know that we can't rely on our market. You're a top 60 market. I think it's like 53 or something like that.
Yeah, overall. But you're consistently in the top 10 of all sporting event viewing. I mean, NBA Finals, Memphis was number 9 of all markets for watching the NBA Finals.
That may run you the opposite direction.
Why?
Because it could be considered a pro town, and not enough people are watching college football.
But we're top 10 in college football. We're top 10 in college basketball.
I take all that to the table.
I will. Invite me. Whoever's in this meeting, let me know.
Take all that to the table. How much do grades matter?
I don't know.
I don't either. We keep talking about R1 status, and I don't know what the hell that means. Like, I know what it means, but like, what does it mean in the grand scheme of things? Why does it matter that
we can't get in because they're academics?
256 in the nation per U.S. News? Like, what does that mean? I don't care. What does that mean?
I don't know. All right, you said before we started this that something has to happen by the end of this week.
Yeah, I think it does. I mean, you get the buyout. I think San Diego State can start it all. The whole thing, because for them to join, they're going to need to know the numbers.
You don't think there's any possibility that first of all, their letter was not, they were not trying to actually withdraw. They were saying, hey, can we get an extension because we're expecting that we're going to get some sort of infinite. You don't think there's any possibility that they did this with literally no place to land?
No, I think that's the thing. I think they have 2 places they can land, and they know it. Like, I think that they're exclusively talking to Pac.
I know, and I'm saying you don't think there is any possibility at all that they did this and they have no place. Like,
no,
they don't get taken up.
I think they get taken regardless, no matter what. They're gonna land somewhere.
So, in order for you're saying something has to happen, that's from a San Diego State perspective.
Well, I think if
it doesn't happen by the end of the week,
it's going to be the domino, because they're not going to say, hey, we're leaving the Mountain 12 or we're leaving the Mountain West.
What the hell's the Mountain 12?
The Stark Ninja Rises, bro. They're not going to say we're leaving the Mountain West and we're just going to hang out and wait on someone to come knock. They have to know the numbers.
But they didn't say we're leaving. They said, hey, can we get an extension?
And they said no. The Mountain West said no.
And we're taking this as your official. That's all I'm saying.
Yes, and they're going to have to leave.
Right.
And then obviously if they have nowhere to land, the Mountain West will take them back because they have nothing else to offer. We've just talked about how big that market is. Like, it's going to crush them.
They keep breaking up and getting back together.
I know. There's like the 3rd time, I feel like. No, it is the 3rd time. Because I went to the Big East. And they said, LOL, just kidding. We're coming back.
Well, this would be the 2nd. What's the other time?
Well, I mean, they left.
And came back. That's 1.
Okay, so 2. I thought they left again, though.
Maybe they did.
Whatever. I don't care about San Diego State. My whole point is, I think
for TJ and I's sanity, we need something to happen by the end of the week.
Yeah, I think you need a domino to fall, and I think San Diego State will be the first domino to fall.
Here's to hoping that July is a big month, a big movement month.
Let me ask you this.
Christmas in July? The only gift that I want is an invitation to a Power 5.
I'll let it slide this time.
Ask your question.
You are the Big 12. You're adding 2 teams right now. Who are you adding? Just 2.
I mean, what are I can literally add anyone?
Any feasible option.
Well, if I'm the Big 12, I'm adding 4.
Oh, okay. Let me hear your 4.
And if I'm your mark, then it's probably Colorado, Arizona, Memphis, and UConn.
Okay.
Scratch your basketball itch without sacrificing football.
Scratch your basketball itch. We're getting that. I'm making that a shirt.
It should be. We scratch his basketball itch.
Pick Memphis. We scratch your basketball itch. It's going to be Bluff City branded. Make that happen.
Okay, you're the Big 12. You're only adding Colorado and Arizona, right?
I think Arizona's going to handcuff to Arizona State, but I think they're going to need Arizona to go before Arizona State will even consider it. I think it could be a total situation where you have Colorado, Arizona State. And
you think there's a possibility that Colorado is the only team from the Pac-12 that leaves?
Absolutely.
And I don't know that from a Pac-12 standpoint, TV deal that would really do any harm to numbers wise to them.
I mean, Denver market's pretty big, but
in that case, would you Big 12 wise, would you go Colorado, Memphis, UConn, San Diego State?
I would
add two still.
I would still only add two. There's no reason to rush the expansion. I say this from a Big 12 perspective.
There's not?
I say this from a Big 12 perspective because if you expand to 16 right now, there's a good chance you can miss out on a Georgia Tech, a Virginia Tech, someone who pairs closely with West Virginia or someone over there, and you've already filled in all of your spots.
We bridge you to West Virginia.
I understand, but they can get a bigger school if they just wait. There's nothing that says they have to go to 16 right now. You just wait on the ACC to implode.
Is the ACC going to implode?
Dude, I don't know. We've seen the SEC could just say, hey, Clemson, Florida State, what are you doing? Come on over.
Gosh.
What would happen? The ACC would implode.
Yeah.
It would have to. Then the Big Ten would obviously start picking apart schools, and someone's got to find a place to land. The Big 12 has no reason to go to 16 for sure right now.
Let's just blow it all up and start over everything.
Just like a draft.
Yeah.
Where would Memphis get drafted? What pick?
How many teams are there?
I think like 130 in D1.
You saying all D1 football?
Yeah.
It's 58th.
That's actually probably not that far off. I would probably say more wet blanket style, like 72. Because I think they're gonna go back and just pick stupid Oregon State and Corvallis for no reason.
Yeah.
Just because they geographically make more sense. Right?
Somewhere in the middle of the pack.
Yeah. The whole thing is just I don't think Memphis is
It's a great value pick. You get a lot of value out of that pick though.
That is true. I just don't think they're as sexy as a option as a lot of Memphis fans think so.
Hey, Yormark was here. He saw how sexy this city is.
Here in studio.
In the city.
He didn't say he wasn't in the city.
He just wasn't at the campus.
He just wasn't on campus.
Yeah, we got breaking news. Your Mark was in the BCM studio and saw how sexy the studio was.
That is
I believe it.
confirmed.
I believe it.
Are we sure it wasn't his twin brother? What did we say his name was? Michael?
I'm going to call him Brent.
Gosh, that would be the most Memphis thing ever.